What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Zombies Pickup Videos. I am your host, Zombie JLT1. Super net. Nope. I said I wasn't going to do that. Alright. Anyway, we've got a smaller pickup video for you today. This is a Sega Genesis lot that I picked up from a seller on Facebook Marketplace. A lot of the titles are complete in box, and most of them are ones that I don't own. So we'll go ahead and jump right into it with the first game of James Buster Douglas Knockout Boxing. This was one of Genesis's early release titles, or launch titles as we call them. You can see here the label is really well polished. There are some edges that are coming up, but you know, complete in box. This one is actually a lot harder to find nowadays, and I was happy with what I paid for it. If you aren't familiar with Buster Douglas, he was one of the up-and-coming boxers around the late 80s, early 90s time period. He's definitely known for his title match with Tyson back in 1990. He was one of the earlier boxers to actually KO him during a 10-round fight. The reason why that's unique is this game is actually an arcade port called Final Blow that Taito released back in 1988, 1989, I believe. And this fight took place in Tokyo. And after they saw him win, they decided they were going to sign him the same way that Nintendo did with Tyson and repackage this game to his version, which is the Knockout Boxing. This game also added 2 new characters, with Buster Douglas being one of them. He's just a palette swap, but it comes with the original 6 fighters, I believe, from the arcade port, along with another custom boxer that they made specifically for this game. And because it's a launch title, it was part of the original Genesis Does What Nintendo Don't campaign.
Super Monaco GP free or columns free. What Nintendo don't.
It was advertised as being one of the first launch titles, and it was also part of a special offer where if you had bought a Genesis at that time, you could get one of 5 or 6 games, I believe, for free, along with columns, Super Monaco GP, Pat Riley's basketball, and I believe a few others. It's not too difficult, but I can honestly say when you compare it to other boxing games like Punch-Out or Evander Holyfield's Real Deal Boxing, it does require a bit more strategy than those boxing games require, because I'll tell you, the boxers in this game are brutal. Even if you're blocking, they will not let up. So the trick is to find your way in, to give them a couple of jabs, a right hook, whatever you can to win them and hopefully land a super knockout punch and put them out for either a TKO, or if you win by draw, you can do that as well. It also has a 2-player mode on it, unlike most boxing games at the time, and it's got an option where you can pit 2 CPU players together and just see who the victor will be. So for an early boxing title, that was actually pretty innovative. Alright, next we got Mickey Mania. This is one of those Mickey games that I actually enjoyed back in the day. Unlike Mickey Mousecapade, which was kind of slow and boring for me, and one of the Castle of Illusion games I wasn't too much of a fan of, this one was actually fun for me because all the levels are based off of various Mickey Mouse shorts and movies. You start off with Steamboat Willie, and then you eventually move through the Ghost Hunter short. There's some other, I believe it's the Mad Scientist or Haunted House cartoon. I could be thinking of the same one, honestly. So it's just a progression through some of Mickey's more popular animated shorts. I believe the last level is The Prince and the Pauper, but it's got a lot of his memorable ones in there. Mickey and the Beanstalk, Lonesome Ghosts. There's quite a variety of cartoon references in this. And the graphics and the controls are really solid. I do like the Super Nintendo port just a little bit more, but it's actually a really good Mickey Mouse game, and I'll actually be discussing another one that I picked up in a separate purchase at another time. And again, complete in box, so I'm not going to argue with how well this cart looks and the fact that the manual looks nice, and it's got the original warranty card as well, which you don't see quite often. Alright, next up, Pac-Man 2, The New Adventures. This is one of those titles that, for as much as I like Pac-Man, I'm not really a fan of. This one tried to add a point-and-click element to a Pac-Man game. It's almost as if you're directing a Pac-Man cartoon or animated film, because the controls require you to interact with Pac-Man by using a slingshot and hitting various obstacles, hitting him, in fact, to get him to do certain actions. I feel like they were trying to make this game more interactive than the basic Pac-Man game that we remember, where you're navigating through the mazes. It doesn't really do much for me as a Pac-Man fan. It does have some really great artwork. The music is pretty good as well, but it just kind of falls short to me. It doesn't feel like this is meant to be a Pac-Man title. It does use a lot of elements from various Pac-Man games and even the cartoon itself, but for me, it just kind of falls flat, and this is actually an extra copy that I have, so I may be putting this up for sale or trade when I have the time. The legendary Shaq-Fu, folks. I have this complete in box on Super Nintendo. I had this loose on Sega Genesis, and now that I have a complete in box copy, I can't really say I feel any differently or proud of that, in all honesty. I mean, it's Shaq-Fu. We all know what Shaq-Fu is. This was a bargain game at one point. You could find these for like 25 cents. I've seen them used as coasters before. I mean, it's a fighting game based on Shaq. What else is there to say besides that? Aside from the fact that maybe this game has been on so many top 10 worst game lists ever. There must have been some kind of a fan base for it, though, because we all know that we got that game on the Switch and other next-gen consoles a couple of years ago. I have yet to even get a copy. I probably will just for novelty purposes. And this is another example where I would probably play the Super Nintendo version over the Genesis, but that's not saying much. Either way, it's Shaq-Fu. No matter what you do, it's not going to change how bad it is. But this game, on the other hand, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This is probably my favorite Sonic game in the entire series. I think a close one next to that would be Knuckles Chaotix on the 32X, which is really hard to come by nowadays, and Sonic CD for Sega CD. This game is what hooked me into Sonic the Hedgehog immediately after playing it. Now, I had played the original one, and I thought that was great. Sonic 2 just really amped everything up for me. Music, graphics, speed, playability. The special stage, I think, is still the best one in the whole series. I mean, the fact that it was later a pack-in game with a Sega Genesis. There's so many good things about this game itself that I honestly don't know anybody who owns a Sega Genesis and doesn't have this game. This would definitely be on my top 10 list and probably top 10 Sonic games of all time. Now, the unique thing about this one is, as you can see here, there's no not for resale sticker or design etched into the box art. And my copy, that means that this was actually one sold in stores as opposed to a pack-in title. So definitely want to keep an eye out for both variants if you like to collect box variants. The same goes for the original Sonic 1. You can find them with a not for resale sign up at the top, or you can find one without that sticker or without that sign. Unfortunately, my cartridge does have the not for resale symbol there. So, you know, I'll just have to hunt for a cartridge that just doesn't have that and give that a new home in this box. And I'll also have to find the manual, but that shouldn't be too difficult. Again, you should collect that if you're into that sort of thing. I kind of am, just for nostalgic purposes, but you can't go wrong either way with Sonic 2. Taz and Escape from Mars. This one was kind of a pseudo-sequel to the original Tasmania game that was based off of the cartoon of the same name. So what happens is, Marvin the Martian beams down, kidnaps Taz, and decides to want to put him in his zoo on Mars. Taz, not liking to be caged up, just like any other animal wouldn't, decides he's going to break out, steal a ship, and head back home. So the game focuses on you navigating all different aspects of Mars, and then returning to Earth for later levels, and pretty much just trying to get home and get even with Marvin the Martian. If you are familiar with any of the Marvin the Martian shorts, you'll recognize a variety of different characters, including his big green bird friend, I forget his name, and of course the always awesome red-haired Gossamer. Most people don't know he actually has a name, but when they say Gossamer, that's who they're referring to. The big, red, hairy dude with the cool high tops. Yeah, that's Gossamer.
Now let's dip our patties in the water.
But you also have a list of other familiar characters as well. You've got Yosemite Sam, Wile E. Coyote. The group is pretty much all here. Another good Taz game that I feel, if you like Looney Tunes and you're a fan of Taz like I am, definitely want to own this one. And you'll definitely want to pick up Tasmania if you can find that as well. The last game in this lot, and I wish I could end on a better note. Wolverine, Adamantium Rage. If you saw my previous pickup video, you know that I am a big Wolverine fan. And I've played a variety of X-Men and Wolverine-themed games that weren't the best, but I got some enjoyment out of them. I can't say that about Adamantium Rage. The plot involves you going through various levels and interacting with some of Wolverine's most memorable villains, like Sabretooth, Lady Deathstrike, Cyber, a bunch of guys from his past that are attempting to gang up on him and pretty much destroy him mentally and physically. The Super Nintendo version has a slightly different story than the Genesis version, but even that's not enough to really go out there and, you know, support this game much. And that hurts me to say because I love Wolverine. I thought that when they were going to start making more games focused on him, they were going to be great. But it seems like his best games tend to be the ones where he's with the other X-Men. So, would I recommend this to diehard Wolverine fans? I would say so only if you collect his games and memorabilia, but as a game on its own, I really can't. The graphics are okay. The controls, the playability is alright. It's just a very boring and drawn-out game. Even with the healing factor that they introduced in it, I don't know. I felt let down with this game when it first came out, and I remember the commercials really hyping me up for it. And because I know all the different villains that are featured on here, because I have some of the comics that feature them, it just wasn't enough to get me to enjoy this game like I would X-Men 2, Clone Wars, or Mutant Apocalypse, or even the Wolverine game on NES, which I know most people don't enjoy, but I do to some extent. Or heck, even the X-Men game on Genesis that everybody says is super hard and super frustrating. I like that over Adamantium Rage, and I really tried to like this title, but it's gonna rank in the bottom tier as far as games go. The good news is, though, is that it is complete in box, so it does have the manual. The card is definitely going to require some work, though, and as you can see here, we've got label damage, or the label's coming off, which is easy to fix, and I can show you how to do that sometime. It's going to require a deep cleaning as far as the chip and the outer shell, but you know, it is complete in box. I'm not going to argue with that, at least. I just wish they had put a little bit more effort into this game, because I think that it fell short just a little bit. And I don't know if you can see here, but this case is going to require a little bit of maintenance to fix. And I have some tips on how you can do that. So if you're interested in seeing that, I can definitely make a video on how I repair Sega Genesis cards. Alright, that about wraps up the pickups video for today. I do want to thank all of you for watching. Before I go, though, I do want to give a special shout out to one of my followers on Twitter and YouTube, and also just one of my good friends in the YouTube Gaming Streaming Society, or group as you would. He goes by the name of Push Pillow, so all of you, if you know who he is, you know exactly who I'm talking about. He's been messaging me on Twitter, as a matter of fact, and we've been talking about what I do when it comes to looking for games, price negotiations, restorations, and what have you. And we've also been kind of pushing the hashtag #KeepTheGamerFaith, which I've been saying for a while, but it wasn't until my third pickups video that I really started to kind of share that with everybody and keep you all motivated. He's actually been finding a lot of really good games and systems out in the wild, and he actually shared one with me. What he found was a complete in box Super Mario Brothers game with the original hang tab unpunched on the box, manual, original plastic wrap, everything. I mean, this thing looks fantastic. And the price that he got it for was a steal in my book. In fact, I even told him that I'm not only proud of the fact that you got this, I'm kind of a little jealous too, because I wish mine was the unpunched hang tab version. But overall, I'm just really happy for him. I'm glad that he is out there keeping that gamer faith that I'm always talking about. And I encourage you all to do the same, because even if you don't find something out in the wild or in one of your local stores, doesn't mean you shouldn't stop looking. I think it's important that we motivate each other to keep doing that in our gaming community, and also we reach out to each other so we can help build each other's collections as well. So, Push, if you're watching, definitely get in contact with me as soon as you can on Twitter, because I'm going to send you a free game of your choice for keeping the gamer faith, my friend, and thank you for helping to spread that. So, next time that we talk, be sure to message me about that. Alright, that about does it for tonight, everybody. Again, I want to thank you for... Sorry guys, I have to cut this video short. I got something I gotta do. So, be sure to like, share, and support my channel and the live streaming that I've been doing lately. I love to see you guys there. So until next time, Zombie JLT1, your supernatural gamer, signing out.